Really, we win in this particular instance. We win because there's all sorts of different competitors smacking at each other now, trying to have better speeds, and that's good for us. That's good for the consumer essentially, because it means that you have all these different companies saying, "Oh, we have faster internet." No, we have faster internet, and that means for us, the consumer, we have faster internet. So you really can't lose there. And $299 a month for 10 gigabit per second internet is still actually pretty inexpensive considering. I would assume that the TV service is bundled in with that too. I don't know, because again, I don't actually have the service, so I don't know. But it's still a very interesting service to say the least, because what can you do with 10 gigabits per second? I mean, think about all the different things you can do with that. Now, of course, a lot of people's minds will immediately go to, say, piracy. Okay, you can do that. Assuming you don't get caught, you could potentially do that. There's servers you could run at 10 gigabits per second, which would be insane. There's all sorts of different projects you could run at 10 gigabits per second, which would again be kind of insane. So who knows what all you could do with 10 gigabits per second? You could actually subcontract your internet out to, say, a apartment complex and give them each 500 megabits per second or some equivalent speed, maybe 30 DSL speed, 3 megabits per second. You could contract that out for quite a bit of money and actually make a profit. So you have 10 gigabits per second and your tenants have much less and you're actually making money. You could technically do that, I think. Not sure if that's against EPB's terms of use or not. While EPB fiber optics may actually offer the fastest residential internet in the world, it is not the first ISP to do so. Vibrant in Salisbury, North Carolina, and VTEL in Springfield, Vermont, are also both offering 10 gigabits per second internet, although it is for $400 a month, which might actually be real market price. We're not sure. Also, Vermont has this service for 400. So I'm assuming that we are seeing in that real true market value. Not sure. That could be, but who knows? So, yeah, given the recent history, EPB fiber optics decision may eventually force the major ISP's hands to increase their broadband speeds, but that increase won't come without yet another fight, because probably what we'll be seeing is Comcast yet again saying, "Hey, you can't do that. It's not fair. I can't believe you've got this fast internet speed that nobody else has." So, except for the people up north who do. I don't know. It's going to be a weird situation anyway. But again, we kind of win because Comcast will probably be forced to lower prices and all sorts of other things. So really, in the end, we win. You can't go wrong. And that's good for us. So what exactly is it that's driving these prices to be going down? It's, of course, competition. Competition is good for us. We can't lose when there's competition going on. So I guess I have to applaud EPB for creating a environment where competition is a must. So thank you, EPB, for creating this environment, which we all will greatly appreciate. Eventually, anyway, when we're actually getting really cheap gigabit per second internet. We still don't actually have really cheap gigabit per second internet. It's just cheap-ish, I guess. I don't know. We'll get around to it, I suppose. Hey, so Jeb Bush has done something interesting, I guess. Jeb Bush has said that I can't even. Jeb Bush thinks that Newt Gingrich's moon colony idea is a pretty good idea. Okay, so if you remember way back in the day, back in like '08, I think, when Newt Gingrich was potentially possibly running for president, he was saying that it would be really cool if we had a moon colony. I mean, he's right. How neat would it be to have a moon colony? But still, kind of odd that that would be an idea that would be pushed. Why, you might be asking? Well, because NASA is, I guess, severely underfunded. We need to have stuff from NASA. And so moving forward, we must have a moon colony, which technically I do believe would be possible with today's tech. I really do think that a moon colony is a feasible thing. But whatever. Political affiliations aside, The Verge says, the writer of the article will always love Newt Gingrich and his dream of building a moon colony. He infamously promised back in 2012 that if he were elected as president, he would have an American base on the lunar surface by the end of his second term in 2020, which is again making kind of an interesting promise that there would be a second term in 2020, but okay. It turns out that another Republican candidate does not think that Newt's lunar ambitions are actually that nuts. This week, while campaigning in New Hampshire, Presidential candidate Jeb Bush was asked how he would reinvigorate the space program if he were elected. And he brought up Newt's moon base idea, saying people started laughing. And I'm thinking, really? I think it's a pretty cool idea. That's what Bush said to a crowd of supporters, saying there's nothing wrong with having big aspirational goals. He didn't actually promise anything specific about the idea, but he did note that America should partner with commercial spaceflight entrepreneurs like Elon Musk to turn our spaceflight dreams into a reality. So again, the question should be asked, is it actually feasible? Because yeah, you can make campaign promises all day, and believe me, people do, but is it actually something that could culminate into a real, feasible, actual thing? Kind of, actually. If we consider the technology which we have today, which is pretty good, all things considered, we're not doing that show, which is pretty good, we could actually technically have a moon base and have it work by 2020. I would not discount that, actually. I really wouldn't. By the year 2020, now we're in 2015, we have pretty advanced technology. One of the cool advanced technologies that we have, of course, is solar panels. And if we built on the light side of the moon, which is always facing the sun, you basically always have solar power. So you could actually have a solar moon base, solar powered moon base that would always work. And that's a pretty cool idea too, isn't it? Would that actually work though? And what would be the purpose? Well, of course, research is always like a purpose for doing these things. So research is an option and a reason to be doing this. But what more could we gain? We might find some sort of new compound that's on Mars, or not on Mars, on the moon, that we didn't know about. But I spoiled my next point. The cool thing about having a colony on the moon is that would be excellent training for having a colony on Mars. It could be done. Yet again, it's something that could be done. And in fact, we're working towards that by the year 2030, having a Mars colony. How cool is that, right? So a colony on the moon would be great preparation for a colony on Mars. But then the question should be asked, would a colony on the moon blow the funding for a colony on Mars? Because these are both very expensive things. And it's not like money is just an infinite thing that we just always have. So, well, I mean, it kind of is, but it's not like you can just have unlimited amounts of money. It doesn't really work that way, I think. So how would you fund a colony on the moon and also a mission to Mars? Would that suck up all of the nation's money? And it might actually. Critics have always balked at Newt's moon colony proposal. His plan didn't actually have any specifics, and it was extremely ambitious in regards to its timeline. Plus, it came from the same guy who wanted to shoot space lasers at North Korea and hire 9-year-olds as janitors. Although I would say 9-year-olds as janitors is not the worst idea that I've ever heard. And plus, 9-year-olds have got to make money somehow, right? Still, space policy isn't a big topic of discussion during election cycles, especially actually during this election cycle. Jeb Bush, as far as I know, is the first person I've heard of to say anything at all about space. So it's interesting to note that he's actually saying something about space. That was a hot topic in the 60s and 70s, and it's sort of fallen out of favor, I guess, in the current day. But it is coming back into popularity. We're seeing a lot of space movies coming out. You just had Interstellar. We've got The Martian, Gravity. Although Gravity, I wouldn't say was the best movie to make you want to go into space. I would argue The Martian's not the best movie to make you want to go into space either, but whatever. You've got The Martian, and you've got Interstellar, and you've got Gravity, and there was Apollo 13, which I also don't think was the movie to make you want to go, or Apollo 18, which is also not the movie to make you want to go into space. But whatever, you had a bunch of movies about space coming out recently is my point, and there's more coming out soon, I'm sure. Space is becoming a real viable topic again. It's something that we can talk about and we should talk about again. Space has a lot of opportunities that we can exploit, and there's a lot of capital to be made potentially from exploitation of space. What all can we gain from space travel? New knowledge, new technologies, contracts for new knowledge and new technologies. All sorts of different things can be had with exploration in space. And we kind of really missed out on an era when it comes to space exploration. Think about the 2000s and how really just stagnant that was with any sort of space anything. I mean, yeah, 2003 had the Columbia disaster, and that was really bad. There's no denying that was a terrible event. And that was a routine space shuttle mission, as far as we know. So that was, again, that was bad, potentially preventable, and also should not have been the end of an era when it came to space travel. That was a bad thing that did happen, but again, can't we learn from that and move on? Why didn't we? We had much worse things happen. Think about Apollo 1. That was terrible what happened with Apollo 1. People burned alive in Apollo 1. But guess what? We still made it to the moon after that. So what were we missing out on during the 2000s where really nothing of interest happened in terms of space travel, nothing major anyway. And now the first half of the 2010s where not a whole lot has actually happened in terms of space travel. Maybe we can remedy that with the second half of the 2010s and into the 2020s and 2030s. Maybe we can actually get a craft on Mars. And maybe we can actually get boots on the ground on Mars, colonies, who knows what else, habitats for humanity on Mars or on the moon. It could happen. I'm very excited about the possibilities that are there, not just for because we can, because that's not really a good reason to do things. No, because there are real scientific things that we could discover if we got people on Mars or on the moon. There are real things that really could happen if we got feet on Mars or on the moon again. How long has it been since we were on the moon? It's been a long time, since the 70s. It's been a really long time since we've been on the moon. We think back on moon missions like it's some foregone era. We shouldn't think about it that way. We should be thinking about the future. What can we do on the moon now? What more can we do? There's a whole moon there that we haven't really done a whole lot with other than take some soil samples and leave. And I think we fired a nuke at it one time. That was kind of weird. Well, Jeb Bush says this: it's not in the absence of taking care of the hungry or the poor. Bush says, we're a big country. We're a generous country. And the benefits of this are far more than people realize. After the event, Bush told reporters he'd think on it some more. A moon colony might sound silly, according to the writer of the article, but it could have some good benefits. The moon has a few rare resources that are such as trapped helium from the sun, which could be mined and then used as fuel for clean energy fusion reactions. Also, the moon has far less gravity than Earth, so a lunar colony could serve as a great spaceport. It would also be much easier for spacecraft to launch from the moon to reach other worlds in our solar system. A recent study showed that setting up a lunar port wouldn't actually be that expensive either. And a lunar colony would actually be pretty cool to visit during your gap year. Who doesn't want to do that? The writer of the article says, I doubt Jeb has thought about all this, though, and his plan hasn't moved much beyond it's a cool idea. But it's not like Hillary Clinton has any big space plans other than really, really supporting the space program. And Donald Trump's thoughts on a crewed mission to Mars are, honestly, I think it's wonderful. I want to rebuild our infrastructure first. Okay, I think it's wonderful. That's what Trump said about sending people to Mars. So this is not a topic that's really been broached in a serious manner, except for by Bush. I'm not endorsing Jeb Bush by any means. I really don't like him, actually, in a lot of his political policies. But I will say in his favor, at least he's talking about space, which is more than his brother did. So I guess we have that to work for. I mean, look, let's face facts. The Republicans and Democrats killed the space missions as we knew them. And moving forward, maybe we can actually have real feasible space missions that will actually gain quite a bit from. There are real resources on the moon that can be had, like captured helium, like the article says, that we could get and we could use and we could actually make money off of too, which is always nice. So why aren't we on the moon? I guess is the question should be asked. We have a lot of visionaries like Elon Musk who are wanting to get us in space, commercial space travel. Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we seriously considering it? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it, but that's just me, I guess. Me and Jeb Bush, for some reason, we side on this particular topic. We are on the same side on this one itsy bitsy little topic. Well, in London, there's been a win for the free market where the UK has determined that Uber is actually not illegal. Uber's taxi booking app is in fact legal in London. The UK High Court has ruled in a case brought against the US company by Transport for London. The central issue is whether Uber's app running on a smartphone constituted a taximeter, the device used by London cabs to calculate the fare for a journey. Only black cab drivers that pass the knowledge, a detailed test of familiarity with London's routes, are allowed to use a taximeter. Or taximeter, maybe. As The Guardian reports, the judge in this case, Lord Justice Ousley, ruled that while the smartphone with the driver's app may be essential to enable the calculation of fares, that did not make it a device for calculating fares, which would breach the taximeter prohibition. Since Uber's app running on a smartphone did not constitute a taximeter or taximeter, it therefore did not fall foul of Section 11 of the Private Hire Vehicles Act of 1998, which set down that only black cabs may use these particular meters. Had Uber lost this case, it would have posed major problems to running its service in London. which makes you wonder, why is the London High Court, or why was the City of London passing these different laws? Why was it supporting just one company, a black cab? Why was it supporting a monopoly of taxis? That doesn't really make any sense at all. Why wouldn't you want competition in the taxi companies? I mean, I'm sure there's someone who's making money off of that. Yeah, I'm sure that there's someone who is making quite a bit of profit off of someone, not having access to competition in the taxi company systems. But still, it just doesn't make any sense that people weren't causing an uproar when they found out about this. I certainly would have been, had I been in London at the time. And that was in 1998 when that was passed. Was there some problem in the late 90s where there was all these taxi companies popping up wanting to do business? I don't think so. So what's the deal? We're seeing the same sort of problem in New York with the yellow cabs. Fortunately, it might actually be relieved. This problem might actually be fixed because there have been some positive moves in New York to allow for, right, like the city can allow you to have an Uber business in New York. Also, in recent Uber news, Uber's contracting with AT&T, I know, to play NFL football games during your Uber ride. So that's another positive move, I guess, if you care about NFL football. I don't, but that might be a nice incentive for you to use Uber too, I guess. NFL football is really not my thing. That's more of a topic for Clutch with Keon Rose, which his show, by the way, is coming up next here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. I actually talked to him about the NFL thing in Uber cars. His reaction was basically the same as mine, is just so I guess it's not really that exciting even to sports fans, but his show is coming up next here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. He's on from 1 to 2. After him, we have Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity. Then we have Hot News Live at 5. Cowboy with Tex is also on. American Now, Ground Zero, and Coast to Coast AM with George Noory. All of that right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. Also, if you go on Twitter, just search for Hot News Talk Radio and you can see all of our tweets. We have 4,056 so far. We have breached the 4,000 mark in all of our tweets. So we're moving forward with more tweets, and we'll let you know when we break the 500 tweet or 5,000 tweet limit as well. If you listen to Eric Judd show, you'll find out what the root of all evil is. No, it's not money. It's actually Pokemon. That is the root of all evil. And fortunately, we're working against the demonic powers of Pokemon. We're going to talk about the free markets more coming up here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com as well.
This is a modern world. This is the modern world. What kind of fool do you think I am? You think I know nothing of the mind.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hands up! Hands up! Hands up!
It's Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party going on right now. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party is an affordable way to revitalize your jewelry. Don't miss the party going on today at Rick Davis half-off remounting party. Give your diamond ring a fresh new look or a new design, as Rick's Golden Diamonds will fix it quickly, or maybe even while you wait.
Hands up! Hands up!
Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 40 years of service, 5301 Brainerd Road, 5301 Brainerd Road. Call 580-2587, 580-2587 for Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, an affordable way to revitalize your jewelry. The half-off party's going on today, so don't miss it at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds.
Hands up! Hands up! Hands up!
Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road. Call 580-2587. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds.
Sky Aerial Services uses advanced drone technology to give you a better perspective and depth of your property and project. We offer aerial photography and video for your business, farm, home, or advertising campaigns, as well as editing services to complete the experience. Call us at 423-521-0284 and see how we can help you tell your story about your business, property, or project. We work with real estate professionals, both commercial and residential, developers, engineer inspectors, surveyors, ad agencies, auto and boat dealers, mapping services, insurance inspectors, corporate marketing, charity events, weddings, and photographers. Our consultation is free. Call 423-521-0284. That's 423-521-0284, or visit our website, skyaerialservices.com. Sky Aerial Services. The sky is our limit.
Here you are, working to keep your customers happy and to manage your cash flow. IRS problems are the last thing you need, but here they are, flapping about you like vultures. Get help from Eric Pelton and his team of accountants at E.J. Pelton Company. Audits, letters, proposed return changes, 1099s, penalty threats. Pelton Tax Resolution Services brings peace of mind and helps you keep more of what you've earned. EJPelton.com. Offices on Brainerd Road and in Soddy Daisy, just north of the Bilo. That's E.J. Pelton. Call 622-3156. Think ahead, 622-3156.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Soddy Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Soddy Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Soddy, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
Hi, I'm David Tulis, inviting you to make the move with me 9 to 11 a.m. weekdays here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. The David Tulis Show, featuring Nooganomics.com for Chattanooga.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. More storms expected today in Southern California, where extreme weather trapped many drivers on a major interstate.
Rains came streaming down there, bringing with them tons of mud and rock. Last night, there were more than 100 vehicles stranded here on I-5, many more on roads in the surrounding area, stuck in these extraordinary flash floods.
Fox's Jonathan Hunt on the interstate. A major wildfire, 25% contained in central Texas.
A DC-10 air tanker has been called in from the West Coast. The National Guard is also helping amid a state disaster declaration Thursday.
Fox Radio's Jeff Manasso. And there were fewer help-wanted signs up in August, according to the Labor Department, which says hiring was flat. Job openings slid to 5.4 million from a record 5.7 million in July. Fox News, we report.
News Talk 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
This might come as an odd topic or an odd statement from me, but I actually don't mind Microsoft most of the time. One thing I do mind, though, is everyone's insistence on using Microsoft Office for, like, everything. It's really annoying. I don't get it. I don't know why people want to use it, but people do. This is Digital Drive. I'm your host, Russell. We're talking about technology and quite a bit more. Now, something that I want to broach with you, or breach with you, maybe? I don't know. I keep using that phrase today, and I don't think I'm using it right. I probably haven't used it right, at least at all today. But one topic that has been driving me nuts, one thing that everyone uses that I don't get, is Microsoft Office. Why do people keep using it? I mean, really, it's not like amazing. It's not the best thing ever. Here's the thing with here's the thing, man, with Microsoft Office. You have alternatives, yeah? I mean, you do. You have pretty good alternatives, actually. One alternative you can use is actually LibreOffice or OpenOffice. LibreOffice is based on OpenOffice. I use LibreOffice just because I like it better. But it does like everything that Microsoft Office does, and kind of, I think, does it better. That's just me. But it works. It just works. You download it and it works. And guess what? It's free. I mean, there's not even any ads or anything. Like it's literally, it's just free. So why aren't you using it? I mean, I use it here, and a lot of other people I know use it, because why would you bother with Microsoft Office? Come on. It's 2015. Why are we bothering with Microsoft Office? It's such an outdated product. It's just like, was it 2008? We're using Microsoft Office? Come on. There are free applications that actually work as well, if not better, that you don't have to pay for. So why aren't we doing it? Schools especially love it when you use MS Office, and I don't know why. I've had to do schoolwork before, but they wanted stuff submitted in Excel files, and I'm like, Why Excel file? Like, what? There's other alternatives here. Why don't they ask their students to just download LibreOffice? I mean, really, think about it. Or use Google Docs, for heaven's sake. You can do that too. Really. I'm not even shilling for LibreOffice or OpenOffice. I'm really not, because I'm not being paid by them. I don't think they have the money to pay me. I'm just saying, like, there are alternatives. You can even use Google Docs for like half the stuff you'd use MS Office for, as collaborative, and you can use it with people cross-platform. So why do we keep using Office? Why? Especially for just word processing. You may as well just use like Notepad. I mean, come on. Talking about word processing, just use Notepad if you're going to do that. It doesn't make any sense to me that we keep pushing this idea that like Microsoft Office is just the only thing you can ever use. It just seems dumb to me, because there really are alternatives. Just download it and use it. And now guess what? You're using it. What more do you want? I don't get it. I will never get it. It just seems so ludicrous to me that we keep sticking with these bad programs that really aren't that great. Like, for instance, I use Linux here at the office. I actually use Ubuntu because I'm a little kid. I use Ubuntu. I don't want to bother installing Arch and Red Hat, and I've used Debian. Actually, I use PowerPC Debian, which I think puts me a bit of a level ahead. I use PowerPC Debian on a, it was one of those like desk lamp iMacs, you know what I'm talking about, that had the swivel thing, and that was like the big marketing thing, was that it moved. Ooh, the iMac moves. It was an iMac G4 that I installed PowerPC Debian on, and it worked great. I used it for a lot of stuff. In fact, it was my main computer for a little while, long time ago. So, I mean, I do use different forms of Linux. It's my main computer here at work, and I use Windows 7 at my house because I play games a lot, so. But no, why don't more people use alternatives? Why are we afraid of varying? You know, why are we afraid of variations where we're just like, I can't possibly move from MS Office to anything else? I got my mom to use LibreOffice instead of Microsoft Office. She did a lot of spreadsheet stuff because she maintained a database. And they were using Microsoft Access, which I think was even worse. And she switched over to LibreOffice, and she actually likes it better. So, again, why are we using these old, antiquated, bad programs that were written by guys who are just bored? You know, like Microsoft Office. It just seems silly to me that we keep using it. Well, Google, or at least a former Google employee, is promising a Microsoft Office killer, which is an interesting promise because, I mean, if you can do it, hey, here's what's happening. Google's Microsoft Office killer has gotten a big upgrade. That's according to Business Insider. Google Docs just got a big overhaul, which was a problem for me, by the way, because I use Google Docs for the news. It's where I keep all my show notes, and it like didn't work until 4:30, and I go on the air at 5. So that was a really big problem for me. Of course, you didn't notice because you're not supposed to, but that was a nightmare. So some Docs products have been tweaked a little bit, and some have been completely redone, and a few new ones have been added as well, according to Business Insider. The new word processor is completely new. Some basic functions like exporting to other formats and dealing with tabs and margins recently received a badly needed update. The new editor also includes a sidebar for commenting on a document and responding to the comments of collaborators. For now, it exists in parallel with the old product. You can't open existing documents with the new tool, but you can opt to use it for creating new ones in settings. Spreadsheets also has gotten a major upgrade. Google claims speed and performance should be greatly improved, and some core Excel features like a formula bar for cell editing have also been added. All Google Docs products now support live collaboration between multiple editors. In both the old and the new word processors, multiple users can now edit a single document at the same time. The changes sync up every few seconds when the document autosaves. So lots of new features have been added to Google Docs. And also you can use it with Google's offline version of Docs as well. So across the board, there's a lot of emphasis on collaboration in these updates. A lot of this actually looks like Google Wave, which nobody used. Obviously, the world has yet to be as excited about Wave as Google hoped. Now everyone who shares Google Docs is using Google's real-time collaboration, whether they like it or not. Google showed off a demo of it, which is your standard Google demo showing how cool things are, and that's about it. It's not like exciting, like, oh, I'm gonna pee myself. This is the most exciting thing I've ever seen. But it's still a nice punch to the gut for Microsoft, I guess. Now, again, I'm not anti-Microsoft by any means, because I think Microsoft has led quite a few interesting, not really innovations, but implementations of technologies that were pretty good. There are a lot of Windows servers out there that basically run the internet. So I can't really complain about that either. Of course, Apache, I would say, is more important than Microsoft is, but whatever. Apache servers are also extremely important. But there are a lot of Microsoft Server 2008 computers that are running, servers that we need and use every day. There's no denying that Microsoft offers pretty good enterprise solutions for a lot of different things. Microsoft certification is one way to tell if somebody's qualified for a job. So I'm not bashing Microsoft, is my point. But I am saying that there is no reason whatsoever to just say MS Office is the de facto choice. It is what you use. It's the ubiquity for word processing. That just makes no sense to me when there are free options that are available, which you can use for free. I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So Google Docs has been updated. I don't think Drive has been updated yet. Chances are Google's working on an update for it. Unfortunately, I don't like what Google's doing with a lot of stuff, to be quite frank. Google's doing some stuff that I really don't like the new Google logo. That's where everything stems for me. Is the new Google logo was just, it was the beginning of the end for me for Google design, because they went with that simplified flat, just it's Google. It was just, I hated that. And then they went with the whole we're gonna make everything cool and hip, and they got like a diversity team to come in and talk about stuff, and it's just like, I don't get it, man. What are you doing? Just like crank out the products. That's what we want from Google, is just crank out the products, support Android, and that's it. We don't need you to be all like hip and for the kids. Just like crank out products that I want, and I'll be happy. Maybe I'm just saying that because I'm old and I'm jaded and I don't want hip and for the kids stuff. I don't know. To Apple's credit, I will say this. To Apple's credit, Apple's basically been the same for the last, since 2001. Really, Mac OS 10 has not changed a whole lot since then. There's been a few new features. They overhauled the look of it, which I still think is stupid, but whatever. But still, you can run programs that came out in 2001 on your 2015 computer with both a Windows machine and a Mac, and I think that's really cool, and that's good. But Google is just the web-based thing doesn't really get my gears turning. I don't know. Maybe my rant about Google's not really going anywhere, but there's something about what Google's doing that doesn't really make me that excited. The smartphone stuff they've been pushing is the most exciting thing to me, to be quite frank. YouTube is an amazing innovation. We wouldn't be where we are now without YouTube. I mean, I'm streaming live on YouTube right now, so maybe I shouldn't be bashing Google too much, but Google's done a lot of things that just didn't work. And Google Hangouts, who uses that except for a choice few people? Think about Google's really bad attempt at a social media network with Google Plus. Oh man, Google Plus. Who uses that? Except for just, you have to use it. If you have a Gmail account, you have to use Google Plus. And again, that's another thing Google did that was good, was Gmail, where now we're all using Gmail. We're being sold tons of ads, so we're being spied on, but it's free email, so we snap it up. But I mean, again, it works and it's not terrible, and you can use it, and lots of people use Gmail. So again, this is not like a Windows or Microsoft or Apple or Google bashing party. It's just Google's doing a lot of things that I think are really dumb, and whoever's in charge of their marketing needs to be slapped up the head, to be quite honest. I don't get it. TBH, it's bad. Experts apparently have no confidence that we can actually protect next generation streets and cars from hackers. Oh, okay. Well then, I mean, we all knew that, right? We all know that there's no such thing as total security or complete security or security really at all. I can actually give you a little bit of an interesting anecdote about that. Okay, so the lock. I mean, the pin and tumbler, the lock is not secure by any means. I can pick a lock. I actually can. I'm halfway decent at it. If you had a padlock in front of me and I had my tools, I could pick that lock. It's not that hard. Any sort of thief who is set in his ways, who wants to get into your shed, he can pick your lock. A lock is only there as a deterrence method. That's it. A lock is only there for the super lazy thief who really doesn't want to get into your stuff that badly, and he's too lazy to learn how to pick locks. That's what the lock on your shed is for. And it's to keep your neighbor out. That's it. But any skilled thief can get in quite easily. I mean, really easily. Like, especially if you're using a master lock, I mean, like master branded lock, those are super easy to get into. Those are like the easiest to get into because they all use the same core. There's nothing really innovative or hard to get into about these particular locks. There's just, you can get into them really easily. So a lock is really only there as a deterrence method. The same thing goes for cryptography and encryption, security that we use on our computers. It's not going to actually protect you very well, especially if the person or entity you're trying to protect your stuff from is, say, government. You can't protect yourself against the government with encryption. The government can get through your encryption quite easily. I hate to say it, but that is how it is. And the same goes for our roads. If you have, say, a autonomous car, that can be hacked because it's using network communications to get its trajectory. You can hack that. Someone could hack one of these cars to veer off into the sidewalk. Now, I'm not saying we should ban all autonomous cars because of that. I'm saying that is the simple hard fact of life, is that anything can be hacked, anything can be exploited, and you can kill people in very creative ways. Simple fact of life. So our cars, according to the Daily Dot, are quickly transforming into 5,000-pound computers with wheels, one of the most dangerous weapons a hacker can attack. The streets themselves will soon connect to the internet in networks called V2I, or Vehicle to Infrastructure, which carries significant transportation and safety benefits, but also offer more targets for hackers. Can the networks be protected from attacks that might track vehicles or steal personal information? Simple answer is no. Security is the foremost challenge for the emerging V2I technology, according to a government accountability office. That's from a survey of government experts, academics, and industry specialists. Fewer than half of the experts surveyed said that it would be possible to develop a secure system. In the not-so-distant future, next Sunday AD, your car will talk to traffic lights over a wireless connection to warn you not to run red lights. Roads will tell you when weather has made driving unsafe, and intersections will tell you the most environmentally friendly speed at which to drive. We're not there yet, but it could happen and probably is going to. The Department of Transportation, or DOT, or DOT, is currently researching how to keep these new networks secure, and so far they really don't have the answer. In fact, they've pretty much given up. The government is coordinating with the transportation industry on the Security Credential Management System, or SCMS, which is a project to verify that basic road safety messages come from authorized devices. But few people have confidence in SCMS. A majority of respondents in the GAO survey told the office that they had only low confidence in their ability to develop a secure system. Because these guys are security experts. And guess what? They know there's no such thing as complete security. It does not exist. It can't. There's no way, because there's always going to be someone who's going to find a way through that lock or through that encryption or through anything you want to throw at them. There's always going to be that one genius who manages to do it. It might not happen the day it rolls out. It might not happen tomorrow. It could happen 2-3 years from now or 2-3 years after launch. But it still can and will happen. I guarantee you someone will get into it. That's just how it is. That's just the nature of networking. That's the nature of encryption. That's the nature of security, is that there is none. Not completely anyway. Again, it's more of a deterrent than anything. Nobody wants to spend the time to hack into the government's Transportation Security Safety Board, except maybe somebody does. We don't know yet. And time will tell, but I guarantee you in the next 10, 20 years, we'll see some case of the first car being hacked that causes a wreck. It's going to happen. And I'm not saying we should ban all cars. Again, I'm not saying ban autonomous cars. That's stupid. But again, it could happen and will happen if this autonomous car stuff is rolled out. And again, that's not like evil. It just is. The Department of Transportation is currently researching how to keep these new networks secure, and they really just don't have the answer. At this point, it's not clear who would even run such a system. I mean, especially if we're talking internationally, who's going to run it? We don't actually know. It's kind of hard to say. So at this point, it's not really clear who would run that. Previous plans pointed towards car industry control, but the Transportation Department is now looking into playing a more active leadership role, of course, for V2I as well as V2V, or vehicle-to-vehicle networks. That role would include setting security and privacy standards when vehicle-to-infrastructure and vehicle-to-vehicle networks become operational. What does that mean for us, though? It means potentially, anyway, a governmental control of road networks, which is not surprising that they would want to push for that, but also a little bit disturbing that it could potentially happen. I don't know if that's what I want, but I'm not the one making the decisions here. There's going to be some sort of discrepancy or disparity between, say, the road infrastructure in the US and the road infrastructure in Mexico or Canada. And that could potentially lead to problems. Again, we can't force Canada to have the same road infrastructure that the US has. And we can't force Mexico to have the same road infrastructure that the US has. Mexico probably doesn't even have the GDP to handle that. Canada might. But again, we can't force them to do that. I mean, yeah, there's some gung-ho guy who says we can, but we really can't. There's no way to do that. There might be some UN resolution that says all roads must be smart by 2025. But again, that's unlikely to actually get enforced. What are they going to do? Send the blue helmets in to take out governors if they don't want to implement this? It's unlikely. Privacy, though, is going to be a key component of the new road networks. Data generated by V2I networks may be given to academics, government agencies, and private companies for research purposes. The Transportation Department is only just beginning to research the best ways to protect that data, if there is any way at all. Safety messages will be short-range broadcasts ranging about 300 meters and will not contain any information that identifies a specific driver, owner, or vehicle through vehicle identification numbers or VINs or license plate or registration information, according to the GAO report. The messages transmitted by the DSRC, dedicated short-range communications devices such as roadside units in support of V2V and V2I technologies, will also be signed by security credentials that change on a periodic basis. Basically, they're saying that it'll be shifting sometimes, sort of a one-time pad system where you'll have a key for today and tomorrow the key will be different. But again, that's not completely secure. That's hackable. It's totally doable. Japan does already have vehicle-to-infrastructure technology. Of course, it's Japan. And Japanese officials have urged their American counterparts to use strong encryption and delete old data. Do you really think that's going to happen? Do you think the American system is going to delete old data? Come on, right? I mean, it's like our thing that we keep data. They're not going to delete it. Japan does not share its V2I data with industry or academic partners and has no security issues with its system thus far. Thus far. There's going to be some smart Japanese guy who's going to figure out how to hack into that system and, again, potentially crash a car. It could happen. We don't know yet. The Transportation Department will provide up to $100 million, of course, in the next 5 years to deploy V2I technology. Its goal is to make 20% of U.S. intersections V2I capable by 2025 and 80% by 2040. So your car will be told what speed to drive at, and you'll be told how to drink your coffee while driving, all sorts of little things. It's more control. It's about monopolization of the road networks by governments, of course. That's what it's about. And it's not like surprising. Who's surprised by that? But it is still annoying, to say the least. If there's some way to make a profit off of hacking into this, it's going to happen. They say no identification information is going to be used, but it probably will be. Law enforcement is going to be jumping on this, saying this is a great opportunity to catch fugitives or whatever. So I guarantee you identifier information will be broadcast over there somehow, because they're going to find some law enforcement reason to do it for national security, right? Because they'll say there might be some terrorist driver who needs to be found immediately. That's what's going to be pushed. I guarantee you. It's going to be ridiculous. The future is kind of crazy, but it's also really exciting. This is just a side effect of innovation, is government control. That's what happens. Governments want to control everything. That's the nature of governments, because they see, or it sees its goal as control. We don't want that. I don't want that anyway. Maybe some people do, but I don't. I'm not someone who wants the government to nanny me or tell me what to do. I'm not saying that as like I'm some super individualistic Uber guy who's like the smartest guy ever. And, you know, I built my own house with logs I found. You know, I'm not that guy. I'm really not. I'm a regular guy who likes computers, really. That's me. I know how to talk. That's me. I'm not like the super individualist who has figured out the secrets of the universe or anything like that. I just value my own privacy, and I value my own individuality, and I don't like people telling me what to do. I'm contrarian, I guess. That's my thing, is I'm contrarian. I hate it when people tell me what to do. And not so much friends or family or whatever, because I get that, but some other guy comes in and says, I need you to do this. My first response is, who are you and why? You know, like, you didn't follow a lawful order. Put your hands behind your back. And I said, why? What's wrong with you? You know, step off. Get away from me. What are you talking about? And I don't want that to happen through computer methods where there's no way to control it either. Now, one side effect that I do foresee is cars with, say, an open source firmware that'll be sold by enthusiasts that don't communicate as well or in the same manner as other cars on the roads. And that'll be interesting to see too, is hacked cars for the better. What can we do with cars? Can we hack our cars to be more efficient? Can we hack our cars to be more performance based like VW did? What can we do with our car technology that we haven't thought of yet? Maybe cars will become less about mechanics and more about infrastructure or IT. It'll be weird, but it's entirely possible that that could be the case, where a bunch of nerds will also be car mechanics. It's a weird future that we are facing, and it's not scary. It just is. There's nothing we can do about it. It's just how it is. We can work with it, but we can't defeat it. It just is. It's kind of like the technologies that we have today with the internet, where it's vastly encroaching on our privacy, but it's not like the end of the world or anything. We still operate pretty well. Local economy still thrives despite what some people are trying to do. It's not that bad, actually. The world is not a terrible place. It just is what it is. This is Digital Drive here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. We're everywhere. Listen live to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. Be sure to check us out here on Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter as well, where you report the world decides. Be sure to like us on Facebook. And Clutch with Keon Rose is coming up next right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. He's our resident sports expert. He knows more about sports than probably anybody on radio right here, Hot News Talk Radio.
This is a modern world. This is the modern world.